Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, let's talk more about occultons and their interaction with psions in the using of consciousness radionic machines and in the universe in general. Well, this brings into contention here, which is now basically been proven. It's just a matter of really refining everything from this point. I mean, there's always been a, quote, theory of it, and theories, of course, is what the world runs on, because nobody knows nothing. So the whole idea is that this holographic universe seems to be the actual way things go. And why does that even make sense? Well, there is a reason. Now, let's get back to this understanding. I'm going to break down occultons into many different factors in upcoming books and lectures, etc. But, let's talk about the interaction here. And of course, you can write thousands of pages of information on this. I'm not sure what any of it means. I'm not a big person on theories, what it does, what it's supposed to do, how it works, but past a certain level. Because who cares? You need to know how a wrench is made to get the results from turning a bolt, to tighten down a bolt with a wrench. Does it matter? Do you understand the gravity effects and how the torquing and you got to use so much? Does that matter? Not really. That only really matters to someone who is making a wrench, which gets into engineering more than science. You got to make sure things are sizes, can they handle the pressure, etc., etc. If you make a wrench out of noodles, you're not going to get very far with it. Well, the design is right, but it can't take the pressure. Yeah, it's out of noodles. That's all we need to know. We don't need any more than that. I think there's so much overthinking by the ignoramuses of so-called educational background that it is pretty sad. So these people continue to baffle us with their ignoramus, diarrhea mouth explanations of everything endlessly that don't mean nothing. How does it work? Who cares? That's for selective people that want to take things to higher levels for whatever reason. But, they get caught in a lot of their own garbage, and what do we get from it? Well, we know how all these books, billions of pages have been written on cancer, millions of books. What do we know about it? Well, we know about a lot of information that doesn't apply to anything. This is where I get into problems with everyone, because the academia, the dummy-damia, builds their entire reality on this. And they want to talk with other dummy-damias to come to a dummy-damia conclusion. Which is what? It don't work. We don't get it. Okay. They'll never say that. And of course, your opinion is worthless because you're not part of the dummy-damia. And not being part of dummy-damia makes you some sort of cretin. But the bottom line is, like with everything in life, if we base things on results, things would change. Not based on anything else but results. So obviously, dummy-damia can't give us any answers to anything. So why should we even be bothering with it? So let's go out to the guy that thinks he can take a rock and throw it into the wind and it somehow stops the storm. Well, if it works, I'm on his team. I'm not on dummy-damia. Yeah, but the energy is coming from the sky in 6.5. And let's write this down in some idiot little image thing. Square, dash, this means poop on here. This kind of high mathematical... everything is brought down to mathematics. Yes, you've done that. But what have you brought down to mathematics? Your failures? Your misunderstandings? Your lack of understanding the universe? Well, I mean, that's what we have. So we have the idiots running the idiots who then claim that they are geniuses because you didn't figure out how to make squiggly lines that mean something on a board of this complicated physics. Advanced mathematics, and everything. You listen to these people, everything can be defined by mathematics. Isn't that interesting? No, well, mathematics is the idiot's tool to explain things that appears to be intelligent because they've told you that. It's kind of like a con game. If the dumbunkers and the idiot skeptics spent their time going through this kind of idiocy and exposing this instead of going after faith healers and psychics, maybe we would get somewhere. This is the fraud of life, but they're involved in fraud. That's why they're all magicians. Not magicians, tricksters. They're illusionists. They create an illusion that they trick you. Because they're such tricksters and frauds, they think everybody else is. It's amazing. So, the concepts I'm giving you are very, very high concepts coming from pure gnosis. I hope people understand this. I try and put it in an easy to understand and fun way, which I hope people appreciate. Most of the problems that we've had, particularly with my writing and everything else, is that because it's not written in a pseudo-intellectual manner, people don't give it the credit it should have. Because you got to babble incoherently, and you got to make up titles that are worthless to get into the ignorant epidemia's reality. And this is when you become a parapsychologist and reach the highest level of incompetency. Write a whole bunch of papers explaining things to regular scientists who could care less and who don't believe anything you say, but you're going by their rules. Well, what a dumbademia we have. Thank you, all you dumbademia parapsychologists, who are now, most of them in their 80s, and what exactly have they ever done? Nothing! So, again, we got to get down to results, and I've talked about this in other areas, and I'll diverse a little bit here into that. The bottom line is that firefighting doesn't work. Let's get rid of firefighters. We don't need them. Doesn't work. Police don't work. Military don't work. We don't need to have thousands of people funded with trillions of dollars that are not functioning in a success-based reality, because that's all that counts. Until we get down to that, nothing means anything. I don't care what your theories are. How does it work in real life? Because it's meaningless. So, let's get back to the interaction of occultons with psions. And you have to understand there's nothing in science that is proven. We don't know what an atom looks like. We don't know what anything looks like. We have drawings. We've never seen these things. They're too small. So don't believe anything you're ever told by scientists. The dumbademia will continue to tell you everything until you're as dumb as them. And that's what they got. They got everybody lining up around the guy that's proved and done absolutely nothing. Because I'm dumbademia. Look at the big building I came from. I have a little paper. It says I'm smart. So, this is the problem with life. And of course, there are degrees of this. You get people who are totally ignorant mental cases claiming they're doing things. Well, this is no help either. Most of those are in dumbademia anyway. So, as we continue to move into these realities, we need to get down to what works. So, I don't really care what anything is as long as it works. Because I want to find technology that works, and then I want to use it. Right now, the only technology that works is mine. At this point. Well, I shouldn't say that entirely. There's some good stuff here and there. But in general, you can't get anybody to prove any of their claims. So, and this is particularly with dumbademia. It keeps coming out how and then they know everything. They tell us about time travel and this. You're a guy that has a degree in space junk. What are you talking about that you know about this? So, the smartest man in the world, as Joe Rogan will say about so many people that, of course, anybody's smarter than Joe, but that's not the point. So the whole idea is, now let's get back. Now the whole idea is these energetic informational fields are, and what they're made of ultimately, we don't know. And I'm not sure there is a description that can be described of it, or even within the possibilities of our comprehension at this particular time. Considering we're just coming out of Newtonian rock caveman understanding of life. Me put this together, me make this together, it is a rock. So this is really what we're talking about, the chemical understanding, the physical realities of everything, is that we're now finally coming out of this, which of course has some basis in reality, but only to a very baby step way. We have to deal with the physical before we can understand what the energetic is all about. So, keeping this in mind, so we have these energy fields that create everything in the universe. You could call this the God field. I call it the occulton field because it's a mysterious field. It's unknown. That's all that occult means. If you can't get past that word, turn this off right now. So the whole idea is that these occultons, these mysterious energy fields, which are beyond comprehension, and somehow have come into existence because that's the reality. One thing about existence is that existence is about manifesting. It constantly has to create. Now, if existence doesn't create, it is not existence. So one has to go with the other. I mean, if nothing is there, nothing is there. So you have to then become something. So these are kind of the greater understandings of life in general. So something happens because it's there, and the void creates energetic informational field. So you have the great void. This is talked about in ancient mythologies around the world. It comes from the void, as it talks about in Norse mythology, of where did everybody come from. And these energies are created, which is very interesting. There are two energies created that created the universe. Interesting, because that's what occultons and psions are, the two energies. So here again, great thinkers in all traditions come up with the same conclusions. We have to be careful when the great thinkers that came up with these things get down to the dumbademia thinkers who think they're great. So these are all the problems in life. So that what happens here is that we have these particular energies. And these particular energies then, so the occultons go out there. Now, you got to remember that they're manifesting energy fields. They're energetic informational fields to create. But what do they create? Where did they create it? Now, this is very important. So mark my words here. So you have this informational energetic field out there that has to start creating in the void. What does it create? Well, initially these things create other energies to do things. Now you could, by cutting through this, and I could spend hours and write 1,000,000 pages, and of course dumbademia wouldn't read it anyway, and then you'd get some dumbademia guys that are going to try and understand it, because dumbademia has gotten us everywhere. So the whole idea is that these go out. So what do you create? Well, you probably originally create things that will create other matter where you can then move on. So you'll condense things down into denser and denser factors, so they create what would be considered, and we're jumping ahead here. There's so much complications to the occulton informational energetic fields, and there's so many of them, it may actually be endless. But there still is one core energy that creates all these sub-energies. So these sub-energies then go out and create things. Suns. Oh, doesn't a sun create things? Well, it does. Why are we here? Why are the planets here? Because a giant sun was created that keeps them, who is energized to one degree or another, to create different life. So I hope people do that, and of course we're jumping ahead here. Oh, you sound so stupid, Thor. You haven't, how would that happen? Blah, 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 blah. So, well, the point is that that's nonsense. So the whole idea is that there's no use going into hours and hours of lectures talking about the minutiae of something. So the point is you make a sun, the sun then starts creating all these other things, and then when these other things are created, they create other things. The Earth creates an atmosphere that then grabs the moon and creates other things. So all this bit, and then it goes out from there. So it's a constant process of manifestation. All of life is about manifestation, whether it's on the essence of life level or the manifesting of money, influence, love, whatever it may be. So the whole idea is that everything's about manifesting. Everything is informational, energetic field made up of occultons in one form of another. Now, how does the psions come with it? Now, the psions are what interact with the occultons to finite that energy for that particular environment. So, this is what makes things fascinating. This is what every single entity in the universe interacting with the psions create their own reality. Now, this is what people have been talking about. And, you know, I've listened to this for years and given it, oh, yeah, you create everything you want. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Yes, easy. The problem is it's not that easy. But the concept behind it is 100% proven to be correct. Now, the whole idea is making this at a level that we are able to actually create what we desire in our own life and our own communities and our world communities. But this makes things highly frightening. But what isn't frightening? You're dealing with the lowest form of energetic fields, the human field. Crazy, goofy, manipulated, unbelievable. And apparently the more human you get and the larger your brain gets, the more perverted you get. Primates are all murderer rapers. Interesting that dolphins, who have the size of their brain is almost identical to humans, are all sexual deviants and murderers and have severe emotional problems. Isn't that interesting? So, but the interaction of psions, which is whatever is affecting in the reality or the proximity of occultons. So, which is you that makes any importance. But there's a bigger thing. So what happens? So you're an occulton, you're wandering around the universe looking for an In-N-Out burger. And the point is that what is happening there? So your energetic field is out there, and you just made a star. And or all those things manifested from there. And then you've approached a water planet, let's say, or water in general, or a cold liquid. But you're putting out fire-making energies. Well, what happens when you throw a match into water? Puts it out. Nothing happens. So if you, as the occulton, keep doing that, well, nothing would ever be made in the universe. So you would be at a point where you are at an idiot structure. Now, should an information energetic field know everything? Are they constantly knowing everything? Well, this is the reality that idiots fall into, of thinking of some sort of God. God knows this, creates it. But the point is, when you go to that, then everything, that gets into a whole nother discussion, but it makes that everything should be perfect, and things are far from perfect, and everything should be pre-developed. Why experiment? Just make it happen. But we'll leave that for the Jesus jerks and the other religious monkeys to figure out. So as we move into these things, that's not how it works. What happens, the psion, or the water that the occulton has just met, is projecting its energy out. It's saying, I am water, and sending that information, and that I, as water, want to create this. Now, this changes the game. So now the occultons understand what they have to manifest, what they have to create and physically start to mold, first starting out as energetic informational fields first, that they then send to the psion. Well, we need water-based stuff, where water sending us fire is worthless. So what happens is the occultons now turn to water-based energies to manifest within water and then create that other substance. And this goes on and on and on, because as you reach other levels in your water-based reality, you're creating different energies, different physical manifestations of it. Everything goes from the energetic to the physical. To one degree or another. Now, everything is physical. To think that an information energetic field is not physical is absurd. Physical is based on making some sort of effect. So it becomes physical as long as it starts to affect other matter. And it doesn't matter how it affects it. I don't got a meter. I can't figure it out. Well, you can't figure out a lot, Dumbadamia. You've brought us nothing. And you're highly corrupt. So, this is the problems. And this is why things never get anywhere, because you have institutional structures, Dumbadamia, who is telling you exactly how things are happening. It doesn't matter how you disprove it. They will not buy it, because that's their paycheck says something else on it. And that's all that matters to them. They have no honor, credibility, ethics whatsoever. They're nothing but Dumbadamia whores. So that's what the life is all about. That's how things go. So that's how it works. So you've got the occultons, so they travel around the world, and then they are affected by the psions, which tell them what they need. because there's no use manifesting in something that will not manifest. And that's one of the things that the occultons understand. They will not manifest something that doesn't manifest. So they're not going to put out. It's a waste of energy. And the one thing you'll find in the universe is that things that don't work don't manifest. There's no energy there. Something doesn't continue to do something if it doesn't get results. Ooh, get back to the results things again, though. Well, that's right. That's called intergalactic universal balance. And when you go against the balance of not creating something from you're putting energy into it, it doesn't work and it fails and it ultimately becomes destructive. It turns negative energy and decomposes, otherwise known as all your social systems. So, the universe, the occultons, the psions, well, there's a bigger picture of that. But that's how you interact with it. So you connect with, as a psion energy, connect with the occultons, and you create matter. And let's understand that matter isn't something you hit with a hammer and feel it. Matter is all informational energetic fields that manifest. Plain and simple. So I don't know how many people get that, and while I put things as simply as possible, you have to have a greater understanding of how the universe works, and nothing is physical. And I'm making a great move away from all physical. I think everything now has to get into and be made as an energetic informational field. And of course, there's things that'll hold it. We've done this with our sigils, which are informational energetic fields that are projected through a particular type of energy created through sigils, which are proven geometric shape designs. But we are now adding to them to make them even much more powerful by putting in these occulton manifesting field energies, often called frequencies. So now they're going to put out a little different frequency, and there are different types of manifesting informational energetic fields, and I think there has to be a hybrid system of this to do it. So this is where the Earth, or the reality, becomes what's been talked about by, I think it was Sheldrake or others, I'm not sure, of the holographic universe, where things intermix with each other, creating other things, because it just makes logical sense. You can't go out producing something because you want to produce it. You're not going to drive a lit match through water just because you want to do it. So there has to be a logical nature to it, and basically an intelligence that has to be involved in occultons. And how do you get that? Well, you get that from the environment that you go into. And this just makes sense. Why store unbelievable amounts of data that you'll never use? Let the psions tell you what to do when you are in their proximity. And this is how the whole world works, and this is what the holographic universe is all about. So this theory, which is not new, holographic universe, it's been around for many years, maybe 20, 30 years. The holographic or occulton energetic field understanding, I put it in my particular way for modern understanding and modern advancements, because 2,000 years ago things were not the same. We didn't have the information. But people were using occultons forever. That's what alchemy is called. That's what magic is called. You're using occultons. You're forming them into energetic through your psions to manifest what you desire. So you start off, you want to get to 3, which is manifesting. You have to have the occultons to manifest. That's number 1. You then need the psions to mold that matter into the shape, form, and energetic field you desire to create 3. Number 3 is your manifestation. Now, again, to think that everything is physical is absurd and even has value. Ultimately, you can't take anything with you. You have a horribly short lifespan. Of course, this can change with the use of occultons. But it doesn't mean we're going to get smarter. We're going to live longer, stupider. I'm not even sure that has value, and probably why we don't live longer is because we're too stupid, and I don't think stupid people should live longer. So what we have to conquer is these understanding of the nature of the universe and its holographic nature. So this is how everything works. It's not complicated. Now, again, reaching a high state of spiritual reality, reaching the highest state you can, which is the state of gnosis, then is you are 100% empowered. Now, this is a state of energy. It's not a physical state. You can't give somebody a pill of gnosis. You have to evolve it through a highly complex occulton psion fields to come up with a really superior energy, because everything physical is not the highest form, it's the lowest form, because everything physical is atropic, meaning it's breaking down. So it doesn't matter how strong it is, how long it'll last, if it's physical, and the more physical it becomes in our understanding, touching, holding, the more primitive and worthless it is, meaning it will eventually, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, a million, 100 million years, it will dissipate and be destroyed and basically return back to its pure state of energy. Informational, energetic field, whatever that item was. And again, that just proves the occulton and psion understanding of life is that when something is broken down finally from its physical primitive state, it goes back to its original pure state and starts creating more of that. So it's a perpetual motion, so to speak, a perpetual functioning of how the field, because the fields don't disappear. They will start creating again. So I hope this is clear, and I'm sure people will have to listen to this many times. This is the essence of life. And of course, this is what these psions is what you're building by using advanced consciousness machines. I hate to use the term radionics, but I'm kind of forced to, just like using the term frequency, because if you put down the words that they're supposed to be, because people don't understand them, nobody will pay attention to it. So the bottom line is radionic type machines are psion producing machines that interact with the occultons, and you have to do this if you want to get really good results. You have to use very specific advanced technologies which are not on the market today. I expect to be bringing some of this technology onto the market in different ways in the near future. The problem is it does require lots of research, which we have much of it done, and of course there are problems if we're trying to make something that's reasonably priced. But there will be practitioner models and hopefully models that work at good, competent levels of energetics that can be provided at a fair cost. But unfortunately, high technology is costly. And because of not the money involved in it, even the, can I ever be paid back for the 50 years of research I've done? Well, that would be, as far as I'm concerned, billions of dollars. Should have been paid to me for all these years of research, and of course I've invested God knows how much, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions, in physical items, but the time, the energy, all the things involved in it, well, what is that worth? So the bottom line is that things are costly in these aspects as well, but pushing that aside, trying to make products that are reasonably priced, but, high quality products at a fair price is what IGOS is all about. But we are looking into that, but there is a whole ground-breaking reality going on now since of the recent developments of, well, I put this all together, and of how this all works. Now, these theories I'm working with, these realities I'm working with, are not new. And people have been working with these energies for thousands of years, basically, and even recently, some of the major discoveries of this to prove it have happened in the last 20 to 30 years. And of course, the holographic universe theory is probably 50 years or more older. So it's not exactly new, but putting it together and using it in a practical manner is always the ultimate of ultimate. And very few people are able to do that. They can come up with this concept and then they're done. Well, I'm not into that. I'm into finding what people come up with, synergistically putting it together to make a kick-ass practical technology so people can make their lives better, to be less corrupt, to live a life where they're not controlled by negative evil forces. And until we stop this, well, there'll never be any. And people have come out with technologies and other things, and there are thousands of them that are just kick-ass and work, have all been destroyed in one way or another. They are just marginalized and laughed at, or they are destroyed to the highest levels. And that's how this life works. And that's because Dummy and everybody else supports the destroyers, because they fear them. And that's how it works. It works by the bully in the schoolyard, which I don't think has ever changed and ever will. Until next time.